Merry meet and welcome. Welcome to the realms of mysticism, the occult, and magic, where your possibilities are only limited by your imagination. Welcome to the Witch's Cauldron and discover the knowledge you seek. Gather round the cauldron and even stay for a spell. Brightest blessings to you. Merry meet and welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. My name's Paula. Today's video is on the new moon in Gemini that will be occurring on May 30th. Now, before we get too far into the video, I'm going to encourage you to do all the kind of YouTube things like share, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah. Join the membership if you like. I'm not a big pusher on that kind of stuff, but what the heck? Most of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel that watch my videos, and it really does help move my channel and my videos up in the algorithm when you guys do all the kind of YouTube-y kind of things. So if you like my content and you want to know about more, just be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. And enough of the YouTube-y, creator kind of call to action stuff. I hate doing that stuff. Anyhow, I'd rather talk about the interesting, good stuff. You know what I mean? There will be a new moon occurring in Gemini on May 30th, 2022. Now, I want you to keep in mind that we are still under the influence of the solar eclipse that occurred back on the 16th of May. Now, recall that that full moon and that subsequent lunar eclipse was a super blood moon. So it was particularly powerful. So its influences will be felt for a while. With an eclipse, you can usually feel the effects for about a month leading up to it, and then for up to 3 to 6 months afterwards. So we are still in that window of the effects from the solar eclipse that occurred back in April, and then the lunar eclipse that occurred earlier in May. Now, all of this month, I need to back up just a little bit. So we're going to go, all this month, Uranus is in hard aspect with the Aries axis. Okay, that is that 0 degrees of Aries. And this kind of alignment between Aries and Uranus really puts an emphasis on truth, gaining clarity, and awakenings. Now, this can be spiritual awakenings. It can be you having that aha moment. It can be us awakening as a collective to things that are going on the world stage that have concern, okay? Jupiter moved into Aries on May 10th or 11th, depending on where you are located in the world. And this energy of Jupiter and Aries together puts the emphasis on new projects, a new adventure. So check to see where Aries is in your natal chart, and then really hone in and focus on that area, what house that Aries falls in. And you can really tell that area will probably be more influenced by these energies and this new moon energy than other parts of your chart. Okay, so you may want to focus if you are a magical practitioner or you are someone who does manifesting and working with energy in that manner, you may want to focus your manifestation or your ritual on that house where Aries falls in your natal chart. Aries gives you a new perspective. It's a call to action. It's also a significant indicator of endings and new beginnings. And new beginnings are really tied with this new moon energy. Mars moved into Aries. Mars rules Aries. And it moved into Aries on May 25th. This is focus, drive, determination, sheer will of effort, okay? It's not just sitting back and allowing, the universe to just do whatever it wants with you. It's you taking control of the helm, okay? Mars and Jupiter will be conjunct, or Mars and Jupiter will be conjunct on the 29th of May. I am filming this on the 28th. Again, this is very fiery kind of energy. And this is like your convictions, what really matters to you. Okay, this Aries wants you to get up and do something. Remember that at the time of the new moon, Mercury is still retrograde until June 3rd. Okay, then it moves to Mercury storm, getting ready to go direct. This is a reminder to really, all of this fiery energy, and with Mercury being retrograde, your words can really be fiery and cutting and angry. And we can be quick to just blurt out stuff that may really cut someone else to the quick. And you want to just be very mindful of that kind of energy. It's also Mercury in retrograde. If you are undertaking any kind of contractual agreements, you may want to wait to sign on the dotted line until Mercury is direct. But it's encouraging you to dot your I's and cross your T's. Pay attention to the details, because especially in legal matters, it can really have long-lasting repercussions if you don't do your due diligence in reviewing the information that you are being given. And it's not just about legal contracts, it's about you paying attention to the information, and from more than one source, looking at issues from a 30,000 foot more holistic view than rather down here in the emotional weeds where you may be reacting from during this period of time. We are moving from a period that has been very highly influenced by water energy, and we're shifting to that fire energy. And a lot of that water energy was centered around the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. And unfortunately, with that conjunction, it brought some really devastating flooding conditions to South Africa and Eastern Australia. So just be mindful of that these energies can not only be like an emotional influence, they may have a literal influence on the world. So as we go into this period of more fiery energy, I will not be surprised if there are more fiery words, fiery protests, people being quick to anger. Also, there may be a period of intense wildfires. I think particularly in the United States, I think we may have a very dry summer on the West Coast, and I think we will probably have some pretty significant wildfires on the West Coast again this year. I also think that there is the possibility of a catastrophic loss of life and property due to a large commercial fire somewhere in the world. I hope that does not come to fruition, especially considering, my background with the fire service and being a fire marshal for 20 years. So it's also a reminder for us to focus fire energy. Fire is your drive, your passion, your determination. So focus that fire energy into drive and achievement versus the lower frequency things of anger, things like that. So just in general, okay? Now, on the new moon, Mars and Jupiter will be conjunct almost to the exactitude on the new moon, okay? The new moon will occur at 9 degrees 3 minutes of Gemini at 4:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time in the U.S., which would be 7:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time in the U.S., and 12:30 p.m. in the UK GMT on May 30th. On May 29th, the night of the dark moon, my trad observes the dark moon on the night before the new moon, and then new moon the night of and the night after the actual new moon. A lot of trads just take the night before as a new moon and they don't recognize the dark moon. My trad does. For those of you who recognize the dark moon, this is a time for shadow work, okay? However, depending on where you are, check to see when the moon will move from Taurus into Gemini on this date, on the 29th. At 1:22 p.m., the moon will move from, and that's the Eastern Daylight Savings Time, U.S., which would be 6:22 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. The moon will move from Taurus into Gemini. So the moon will actually be void of course from 10:10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time in the U.S. to 1:22 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time in the U.S. when the moon actually moves into Gemini. So those of you that are, say, in Central Europe, you may want to either do your dark moon ritual a little bit earlier and do it before it goes void of course, And while it's in Taurus, or you may want to wait till the early morning hours and do it while it's in Gemini, or you may want to just forego doing any kind of dark moon work or any shadow work during this period of time. But for those of you who can do your shadow work on the 29th and you recognize the dark moon, this is a great time because it's about letting go of stuff that doesn't serve you and embracing something new to come along. And it can be you letting go of bad habits. It can be letting go of toxic relationships. It can be letting go of any number of things, okay? And this would be a very good dark moon to take that on because of the general energies that are in play. Now, for the actual new moon itself, the moon will be in Gemini all day on the 30th. So there is no worries there. However, if you are one who was planning to do something the next day for the new moon, be aware that the moon goes void of course at 4:09 p.m. on the 31st, and that's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. It will be void of course until 1:48 a.m. Eastern US, which would be 6:48 a.m. in the UK on June 1st. So you may want to keep that in mind if you're thinking about doing a new moon ritual. You may want to stick to the schedule and actually do it on the night of the new moon. Now, on the new moon, Jupiter will be at the Aries axis point, okay, at 0 degrees. Uranus will also be in aspect to Aries at the Aries axis point. And these two alignments put an emphasis on freedom, justice, and the truth coming out. New moons in general are for setting new intent. If you focus your new moon rituals on the area of life where they fall in your natal chart, you get the most bang for your magical buck, so to speak. Now, Gemini itself is about our mental functions, our thoughts, our ideas. It is also a focus like on our unconscious mind, our not good enough thoughts, us going to that negative place where we continue to find ourselves lacking. This is why I say that this dark moon on the 29th will be an excellent time for doing shadow work for this exact reason. For your feelings of wherever it is that you think that you are not good enough, and to try and change your own narrative to where you're not thinking about the negatives in your life or where you find yourself lacking, because we're usually harder on ourselves and we perceive ourselves in a different manner than what usually the world sees about us. The Gemini energy can also really make your thoughts scattered and make you distracted, but it can also be people trying to redirect your attention from what is right in front of you over to something else to try and get you off of making some kind of a decision where you're taking a stand, okay? I encourage you to refocus your thought processes, and when you catch yourself in that negative I'm not worthy space, to try and refocus yourself. Okay? And I'm a big person about doing that to myself. I am really hard on myself, as we most are. So I encourage you to try and be just more cognizant and frame yourself in a more loving manner. Because how in the hell are you going to love somebody else if you can't love yourself first? Okay? Gemini is also linked to social media, the bane of my existence. As I sit here on a social media platform trying to do this. And it's also tied to like voting systems. And we may see some kind of cyber attacks during this period of time. I'm not going to specifically like link it to voting systems or anything like that, but I do think that there could be, an attack, more of an attack on, personal accounts like on Facebook, Twitter, blah, 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 whatever and whatnot, TikTok, Insta, all that kind of junk that I don't even look at. Now, Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury is still retrograde until June 3rd at the new moon. And it will be at 26 degrees, 37 minutes of Taurus. Now, Mercury in Taurus is square to Saturn, that is at 25 degrees of Aquarius. This is an indication, especially with the social media connection with Gemini, to be more censorship. It could also coincide with an announcement of a new social media platform being developed. It could be coming out, or it could be more top-down control on communications in general. Mercury is aspected by each one of the outer planets. That's Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. This kind of an alignment is a lot of information coming in, and you may want to just shut down your brain. Right now, I feel like I am being battered by not only information that I'm getting from not mainstream media, but from other news outlets, from just in general, the chatter, but anybody with abilities. You are going to be inundated, and especially those who are empaths who do not try to shut down and lock down their abilities and try to lock down that empath ability. You're going to literally just be bombarded by all of this information coming in and feeling like you can't shut down. Usually, I put like my armor on and I don't open during these periods of times for just about anybody. There are very few people on the face of this planet right now that I will open my abilities for right now, just because I am having to fight so hard to stay shut down and filter out the noise. Mercury in Taurus encourages us to just tell it like it is. This is reinforced by the fact that Pluto is at 28 degrees of Capricorn. That's about speaking the truth. Mercury is square Saturn. This is control and censorship. Okay? It can also be you getting a reality check about something. Something that you may have perceived to be true, or have kidded yourself into believing. Those beliefs may be shattered by the truth hitting you square in the face. So make sure during this period of time that you're thinking long term, not just next week, but thinking long term on in future planning, you ascending to that next level, how to get there. And then the Aries energy from the season gives you the kind of impetus to get off your ass and kick things into motion. Now, there is a wide, I hate to call it a conjunction, but there's an alignment here that's really kind of interesting. We've got Mercury at 26 degrees of Taurus, which is thinking and ideas and kind of like your lower mind, okay? Uranus at 16 degrees, and usually 10 degrees difference is too much to really call it a conjunction, but hear me out on this. Uranus in Taurus is the upper mind, okay? This is your ascension. It's like from the cosmos and where your place is in the universe, okay? The North Node, which is our collective future, okay, is at 21 degrees of Taurus. And this is exactly midpoint between Mercury and Uranus, okay? What this is again reinforcing new ideas, new insight, creative thinking for the benefit of all as a collective versus individual, okay? It's also how can we approach areas that are affiliated with Taurus, like food, the food supply, agriculture, finance, wealth, currencies, and crypto. How can we approach things for the benefit of all and that ascension of humanity? And I think that's why this sort of, but not really conjunction, I find it very interesting. I find this alignment very interesting because, again, it's reinforcing the thoughts of new ways of doing things, letting the old go to make way for the new. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful through 2024. This is not going to be easy for the next couple of years, especially where finances, food, shelter, things like that are going to become more and more of a concern. And I'm going to reserve any more talk about that for a little while. Neptune at 25 degrees Pisces is sextile Mercury. And this, again, is looking at new ways of thinking and what is the new reality that you want to create collectively and create for yourself and your family. Now, Jupiter recently moved over the Aries point. Mars is over the Aries point. And there's a square between Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn and Haumea in Libra. And this is, again, that regenerative, creative energy. If you remember, Haumea in myth, Hawaiian goddess, regenerative, can not only birth new things from the traditional area, but from all over her body. So it's all about regenerating the earth, that regenerative spirit. This is another focus on letting go of the old, making way for the new. And Pluto is in the last, few degrees of Capricorn. It moves out of Capricorn in 2024. 2024 will be the year where the old systems are demolished. And it can be very difficult and will be very difficult and painful. But it's going to make way for a better way of doing things. There is a lot of horrible, horrible, horrible stuff going on right now in the world. Not just the United States, but all over the world. And the only thing that can really save us as a collective is if we change the narrative and we take away the power of the stuff that scares us and focus our intent not on the negative, not on what scares us, but on the love and how love can fix things. We can overcome everything that humanity is getting ready to face if we stay as a collective in those higher frequencies of love, coming together with understanding, with trying to have conversations and not just screaming at one another. Nothing gets accomplished when you're screaming, you're yelling, and hooping and hollering and carrying on. You just tend to shut everything down, so that there can be no discourse. There can be no community feeling of fixing something together. And I call it just love the bullshit away. And when we try and stay in those higher frequencies of love, compassion, understanding for one another, a lot of the noise and the bullshit will go away. Okay? So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. I plan on continuing to do these astrological kind of videos. You guys seem to enjoy them because I give you some insight how to get the best bang for your magical buck for your moon-related rituals or rituals related to major astrological events that are happening. So with that, comment down below. Tell me what you will be doing this new moon. And with that, my friends, merry we did meet, merry we will part until we merry meet again. Be well and walk in love and light, everybody. Bye.